Good morning. Welcome to Workforce Skills with John Morris. Another beautiful day out here in Phoenix, Arizona. The weather's kind of changing. I've had a lot of rain in the last week. I'm kind of fighting a cold. Plus, I've been working too hard, working too many hours. I think physically I'm just getting worn out and drained. But today I want to talk about how not to get fired. It sounds kind of funny. I always talk about how I've had to fire a lot of people. I've had to tell them, hey, you're no longer employed by us. I've got to let you go. I've literally fired thousands of people. Now, the problem with this is technically I've never fired anybody. They chose to do something wrong and chose to do something to have me show them the exit out the door. Right now, we're currently dealing with a couple employees, 3 to be exact, that there's 3 different issues. And 2 of them are kind of the weakest link. And looking at them, they're not progressing. They're not learning. How do you step up your game when you're in these situations? How do we deal with this in a management position or as an owner or in a position of authority as a crew lead, and you've got this person on your team and they are just failing miserably. They're not progressing. They're not working. It's almost like you look at somebody and they're working harder to get out of work than actually find something to do. There's nothing I hate worse than that. And so these 3 individuals, and no names mentioned here, but 2 of them have come out of the program. 1 hasn't. The other one was hired through our front door, just came in, filled out an application, we hired him. But the one guy, and we're painters. How can you show up to the job site without your tools? You know you're going on a job site, you know where you're going, you know what you're doing, and you're going to show up without the right equipment to do your job? What does that tell me about you as a person? You know, the other complaint with this same person is that they're having to drive too far for work. You know, now his significant other's getting involved and questioning, hey, I thought if you drive over 50 miles to get to work, you're supposed to be reimbursed or get mileage or gas. And there's no law that states that here in Arizona, as far as I can tell, and I've researched it. There's nothing. It is to the discretion of the employer if they want to so do that. Now, my wife had a job. She was working somewhere. If she had to go from one location to the other and work at a different location, they would pay her mileage. They would reimburse her for that because it was going out of her way to a different spot, different location. That was at the discretion of the employer, and that's what they offered their employees when they needed extra help at a certain location. But they had a physical place where it was a location where you work at. It's not like us where we're going to job to job to job. Now, for a lot of our employees, you're not going to the same job every single week. You might be at a different job every couple of weeks, depending on what cruise you're on. Some of our crews, we're at the same job for 6 months. That's kind of nice. You get used to it. You get in a pattern. You get a system going. You stop at the same place for gas every day, same place to get your coffee in the morning. And then all of a sudden, you're switching jobs. It's time to learn a new route, a new routine. But when it comes to maintaining your job, you want to become valuable. How do you make yourself more valuable for the company you're working for? For me, what I'm looking for in an employee is who's going to show up early and who's going to stay late, who's going to go the extra mile. And it's interesting, some of the comments I hear from people out there is like, well, I'm not going to be that employee and they need to pay more to get me there. Well, how are you going to make more money if you don't prove yourself first? You've got to step up your game to show that you have value and that you're worth more. You know, 2 of the others that we're dealing with right now, they came out of our vocational program. You know, in that situation, we take a shot on every single person. We're giving them an opportunity. You know, it's one thing you're going through this 90-day behavioral health program. You've come off the streets, out of prison, out of a drug rehab situation. You've got a clear head and a clear mind, and you're thinking completely different. You're in a controlled situation, a controlled environment. Now you're in the real world, you're out there working, and that's where we start to see some people fail, and they can't progress. They'll progress during that 90 days in our vocational program. They're really excelling, and then I don't know what happens. You step out there, you're in the real world, and all of a sudden, I don't know if you hit a brick wall or you hit a point to where you think, okay, I made it, I'm good, I don't need to do any extra. That is completely wrong. The second you've got that job, that's when it's time to step up your game. It's time to step up to the next level. You can't become complacent. You can't become lazy. And if everybody around you is working harder than you, there's something wrong. Now, 2 of these people that have come out that we're concerned about, that are kind of our weakest link, they've been on a couple different crews. Now, in our company, if you're on a couple different crews and all of a sudden, this crew lead or this working superintendent saying, hey, John, this person's not cutting it out with our crew. They're not meshing. They're not working. We're having issues. Then I'm going to try them on another crew. If I have to put you on 3 different crews and I have 3 different people tell me the exact same thing, that you're not making it, you're not learning, you're not compatible with the team, you're being combative, you're whatever the case is or the situation, it's just not going to work. At that point, we have to cut ties. This is just not a good fit. Not everybody is a good fit for every company. Our company might not be a good fit for the people coming through the front door working for us. There's something off. There's something that just doesn't click or jive with each other. And it's the same thing with the employee. They might come to us and we find out that they're not a good fit for us. It goes both ways. So you have to find your place. You have to find a company that you're comfortable with, that you want to work for, that's going to be there. It's not that difficult. And you might be working somewhere right now and saying, man, this company is not where I want to be. This isn't what I want, but it's all you have at that moment. You have to learn to make the best of that. You might find out that if you make the best out of the situation and just start doing your job and showing up and cut the attitude and the complaining out, that might be a really good place to work. You just haven't figured it out yet. And you're going to find over time that this is a place that, man, I could be happy here. I could be comfortable working for this place. It's starting to grow on me. You just don't know what you're going to walk into and how it's going to turn out down the road. You have to keep an open mind. But at the same time, as an employer, as somebody in management, we have to fire people. We have to let people go and show them the front door and exit them out. It's just part of doing business. We are in business to make money. We are in business to be productive and have these jobs profitable and turn around and bounce on to the next job. And if the employee can't see that, if they can't do that, then this isn't a place for them. They're not going to be a good fit. And what I've realized is the people that come on board that are constantly learning, constantly grinding, they're the ones that become leaders. And for the ones out there complaining, saying, oh, that's not me, and the company needs to take care of me first, you're never going to become a leader. I guarantee you, every person in my company that has become a leader, become a crew lead, a superintendent, estimator, project manager, whatever that position is, they all started at the very bottom and they worked their way up to the top and they've worked their ass off to get it. They didn't complain. And if they did, they just kept it to themselves or worried about it, talked about it after work. And it's funny because there's times where I tell in my class, when I'm teaching these guys, I don't care about your feelings and your emotions. We're here to do a job. We're here to make money. We're here to do something. And it's not that I don't care about those, but the fact is we have a business to run. When it comes to money, when it comes to getting a job done, your feelings and emotions do not matter. There's just one way to get it done. If I'm painting a wall, if I have feelings and emotions involved with it, is that going to affect painting that wall better or worse? The emotions have nothing to do with it. It's getting the wall done, painting it, and moving on to the next wall. That's what has to happen. And if I'm up in my head thinking about stuff or worried about other problems or worried about what everybody else around me is doing, then I'm never going to grow. I'm never going to become a better painter. I'm never going to move up to the crew lead position. How can you move up in position if you don't change what's happening? If you're the guy out there just complaining and bitching about it all day long, you're never going to grow. You're never going to move up. You have to make that change. The change starts with you inside. You've got to look at yourself and say, why am I here? What am I doing this for? Am I just going to be a laborer the rest of my life? Am I just going to be a painter? Or do I want to progress? Do I want to grow and become something more? And everybody thinks they're better than what they are. You're not as good as you think you are, but you got to prove yourself to get to that next point. If we can take a step outside of ourselves and look at us, how other people perceive us, what would our perception be of ourselves? You have to change the way you look at what you're doing and how you're doing it and become better. You always have to think to yourself that, man, I'm really not that good. I can improve here. I can improve on this. I can do better here. If we constantly look at everything that we can do better, even if you think you're the best at something, you're not. There's somebody better out there. How can you improve in what you're doing? You're fired. How do you accept that? How do you look at that? When somebody tells you, hey, you've just been fired, you lost your job. There's multiple ways. And I think the most common reaction for most people is anger and frustration. Like, what did I do wrong? And they don't even realize what they do wrong. There's nothing worse than firing somebody, letting them go, and not telling them why or the reason behind it. We always tell everybody why they've been let go, what the reason was, and what they need to change to become a better painter, a better employee. Because if I have this problem and they're not aware of it, they're not told it, what's happening to the next company they go work for? What have I've done a disservice to this person. I've just told them they've lost their job. They've got to go find a new job. They're angry, they're frustrated, but they don't know why. They don't know the reason behind it. And I think that is wrong of employers out there to do that. Don't just fire someone or let them go without explaining to them, here's why, here's the issues, here's what's been happening over the last 3 months that hasn't changed or you needed to grow, and explain to them and they're like, well, nobody taught me this. Well, we put you on this crew, and this crew. You've had multiple opportunities. These people have worked with you, trying to help you grow, trying to help you get better. We've put all the pieces in place for you to become a better employee, a better painter, a better person within our company. So you out there that are employers, or you're in a position to be able to let somebody go and fire them, shame on you if you're not telling them why or explaining them what they did wrong. They need to know this. They need to know this so when they go to the next place, they can learn from it and maybe not make that mistake. And maybe it takes them 2 or 3 jobs getting fired to finally figure it out. But that's from them having to figure it out because no one told them. But just think, if someone told you every time you were doing something wrong, even though it bothered you, at least you knew and you could learn from it and you can grow from it. I want to know when I'm doing something wrong. I need to know, hey, John, you screwed up. This isn't working. We got to find a way to change this. Tell me this, because if not, I'm going to continue doing the same thing over and over thinking I'm doing it right. You're doing your employees a disservice if you're not helping them grow, if you're not teaching them and showing them what they're doing wrong and showing them the right way and how to do it and how to become better at it. If you want your company to grow, if you want your company to succeed and make more money, be more profitable, then you're going to constantly try to grow people and teach them how to fix the mistakes that they're doing. It's one of the things some of my guys hate working for me. I've got a couple of guys that we've used that they constantly go back. Their job is kind of a cleanup crew. They're customer service, quality control, and they hate going back on jobs and finding things that were left undone or mistakes. I hear about it nonstop. And then I'm going back and I'm looking at what crew was on that job. Why did this happen? And it's interesting how sometimes these people, the problems that we fix, they're not even employed by us anymore because this is why they were making the mistakes. This is why they were let go, because of continual mistakes that they kept doing. Now, if you're not telling those employees what they're doing wrong or how to fix it or how to do the right way, maybe they just don't know. Maybe they learned this at the last 2 or 3 companies they worked at. And now they're working for you thinking this is the right way to do it, but this isn't our standard. Our standard is we're going to do it the right way every single time, even when no one is watching. You have to. You have to make sure that you're doing it the correct way every single time. But if you know the correct way and you're telling your employees, hey, go out there and paint this, go do this, and just expect them to figure it out, it's not going to happen. You have to teach them. That's the only way you grow as a company. That's the only way you grow as a team. It's the only way your employees are going to grow, period. You have to train, you have to teach. Now, we take Saturdays sometimes, once a month. We'll do what we call our life skills. We come in here and we do a training session, how to be a better employee, how to be a better person. We talk about problems on the job site. And I'm amazed at how many people show up, but I'm also amazed at the ones that don't show up. The ones that don't show up are typically the ones that need to be there to hear what we're talking about, because they're the ones making the mistakes. And so I try to make them aware. I can't force them to come because it's not mandatory. They don't get paid for this. It's extracurricular or something for them to do to get better with the company. But the ones that do show up, the ones that constantly come in and learn and try to get better, those are the ones that become leaders. Those are the ones that want to grow. So it's hard when you got somebody that doesn't want to grow, doesn't want to progress with the company. They just want to go through the motions. They're there just for a paycheck. You're going to have that everywhere you go. You need all kinds to make a company work. And even those guys are beneficial to the business. They're going to be there. They're going to work a long time for you, but they're also going to be the ones that the second things get bad or things get tough, and maybe you're struggling for payroll to make it that week, and they're thinking, oh, the company's going under. They're the first ones to decide they're going to go somewhere else and quit and work for another company. But I guarantee you, I've seen it time and time again. They're the ones that always call you back and say, hey, I left you to go to another company, make more money, and it didn't work out over here, but can I come back? And sometimes we let them. Sometimes those people are so toxic, we were going to get rid of them anyway. There's not a chance in hell we're going to bring them back. So we take everything in consideration with each person that's coming through the door of whether they worked for us. We keep track, we keep records on everything. We've been documenting everything for years and years. So if you worked for us 8, 9, 10 years ago, and you all of a sudden want to come back, we're looking up, hey, why was this person let go? Why are they no longer here? What's changed? What was the reason? And it's interesting how many people come in and all of a sudden they're wanting their job back. We look up their information. We flat out tell them when they come in here, hey, you were no call, no show for 3 days. You received your job text, your information. We tried calling you. You just blew us off. And what happened? Oh, well, I was going through personal problems, or I was going through a divorce, or, I had to find another job at the time. And you know what? I've heard every excuse in the book. It doesn't matter. What matters is if you're going to leave us, leave on good terms. Don't burn the bridge when you go, because you never know when you're going to come back. I promise you, if you were fired from us, the odds of you coming back are pretty much 0%. It's not going to happen. But there are rare occasions. There's a rare occasions where someone comes back there. We had a guy the other day, he came in the front door and he goes, hey, John, I worked for you 5 years ago. I was at this such and such a job. And he was a great worker. He was going through a divorce at the time. We knew that. His life was in shambles and he ended up quitting working for us, but he came back. No problem. Come on board. We're going to put you to work and see what you can do. Hopefully you stick out this time. And how is the divorce over? How's everything running? Well, did all his paperwork, showed up the next day. He was a half hour early in a wrong location where we were at. Somebody directed him where to go. Guy never showed up. 3 days later, still not here. So same scenario again as 5 years ago. I promise you there will not be another chance after this. I don't have time. I don't have the energy to waste. And why would you waste our time coming in here, going through all the paperwork? Our employee packets it takes about an hour to do that. You come in for an interview. Once you're done with that, then you start all the employee packet. It's everything we do: direct payroll, direct deposit. So you got to go through your bank information. You got all these paperwork to fill out, what you're taking out in taxes, and then just to blow it off the next day. What does that tell me about the person that I was just hiring? It tells me I should have never given them the time. I shouldn't have given this guy the opportunity to come back again, but I did. And now it backfired. But that's not going to stop me from doing it again for the next person. I'm going to continually look at each person in a different situation. Every situation is different. I believe everybody deserves a second chance. But if you throw away that second chance, there will not be a third one. And don't be surprised when your next place you apply for, they call me and say, hey, this guy worked for you. And I can't badmouth a person. All I can say is, you know what? I would not hire him back again. That's all I'm going to tell you. Yes, he was an employee. He worked for us. He was let go because of no call, no show. But I would not hire him back again. He's had too many chances with us. I don't want you to burn the bridge. If you're going to leave a company, leave on good terms. Put a 2-week notice in. Had a guy walk through the door the other day looking for a job. He was referred to me by somebody through the paint store that I know very well. And he also worked with this guy's wife. She has her own paint company and she's kind of retiring. So the work's kind of slowing down. He's been painting for 30 years. He came in here and he goes, John, here's the deal. I'm working for her plus at this other place. I really want to come work for you. I've heard great things, but I really need to put a 2-week notice in for the other employer. I go, by all means, go do that 2-week notice. I respect that. That tells me something about the person, that he's not wanting to burn a bridge. He's given him 2-week notice. He's going to come work for us. But I also told him too, and I've seen this happen with a lot of companies, that once you give a 2-week notice, they say, oh, you know what? You can just go now. I told him, if anything happens where they let you go before the 2 weeks, come to us. We'll put you to work right away. But at least he's doing the right thing. That tells me that down the road, if anything happens here between him and the company, he wants to move on to something bigger and better, he's going to give us a 2-week notice. I can respect that. I respect anybody that does a 2-week notice, not the guys that just up and quit all of a sudden overnight and, hey, I'm not showing up today and I found another job. You know that really puts a company in a bind, and that doesn't show good character in you. That tells me that you weren't in this for the job, for anything else. You're selfish. All you're thinking about yourself. And I get that. And some people out there are going to say, well, I shouldn't have to think about the company. I think about me. No, you really should think about the company. Because if the company isn't making money, if it's not in business for the right reasons, you're not going to have a job and everything is going to go sideways. For a company to become profitable, for it to make money, you have to show up, you have to work, and you have to help the company make money. Period. You are there to make the business money. That's your job. That's what you're signing on for. That's the way this system works. It's always going to be that way. It doesn't matter whether it's a small business and you're just working for one guy that owns a business, or you're working for a massive corporation that's worldwide or nationwide. It's going to be the same case everywhere you go. You're working for a certain wage. You signed on and said, yes, I'm coming on. I'm going to come on and I'm going to work for $18 an hour. I'm going to come on and work for $20 an hour. And here's the expectations for your position. Don't show up then and say, you know what? Hey, I don't think I'm going to do this. That's too much work for me. I feel like, you're only paying me $20 an hour. You should be paying me $25 to do that. It doesn't work that way. Eventually you'll move up to that wage as long as you stay with the company and you grow with the company and you prove yourself. No one ever bumps up that fast. It doesn't happen. So the bottom line today, what I'm trying to get across to you guys is make yourself valuable. Make yourself worth more than what you think you're worth. Show that you want to show up, you want to do the job, and you're going to do everything you can to keep that job. Don't get fired. There's nothing worse than hearing those words, you're fired. I can't imagine what goes through someone's head when they hear that. For me, I've been self-employed for a long time, and I've been working on my own for so long. I couldn't imagine working for anybody else ever again. I don't know if it would be possible because I run my own company. I know my expectations. I know what I do. And even right now, I'm under the weather. I've got a sore throat. I'm a little sick right now. I'm still pushing. I'm still grinding. Even on Friday this last week, I should have stayed home and stayed in bed. I was still at the office and shop at 4:30 in the morning, and I left around between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. Technically, I put in half a day before even going home, and that was before most people are even working. You have to show value. You have to show worth. Push yourself farther than what you think you can. You don't know how far you can push yourself until you actually try. So push yourself, see how far you can go, try to become valuable, make yourself worth more than what you are. And eventually, you're going to become the leader. You're going to be the ones that are going to be firing other people because they're not meeting up to your expectations, your standards. And it's that simple. How hard is it just to show up and do your job and learn and grow? I want people that are teachable. I want people that are coachable and that want to grow and become something more. Don't become complacent. Don't become so lackadaisy that you're not out there trying to do your job. You're just trying to find more ways to get out of doing work than you actually are doing work. And you think you're fooling everybody? You're not. Everybody sees it. And then if you're that person that you've been moved from crew to crew to crew, you might want to start looking at yourself thinking, okay, why can't I find a crew that everybody wants to work with me? Why am I not sticking? What's happening here? Go ask your boss. If you know there's a problem, go ask him. Say, hey, I've got a fear I might be getting fired. I feel like I'm slacking. What can I improve on? You come to me with that, I'm going to tell you what you can improve on. And if I see the improvement, then there's hope, there's a chance for you. But if you're not taking the initiative, you're not pushing forward, why should I push forward? Why should I put the initiative out there if you're not doing it? you've lost your value in the company. So become valuable. I guess the message today for everybody out there is don't get fired. Do your job. Step up your game. Become the leader that you're meant to be and start leading other people. Teach them how to do your job. Make yourself replaceable so you can move up in a company. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you joining me today. Stay hungry.